Hello, and welcome to the TerraLex Insights Podcast, where our goal is to present multicultural perspectives by leading professionals. These perspectives help business people and lawyers work better together. I'm your host, Terri Pepper, TerraLex's CEO, and today I'm delighted to bring to the podcast Tara Cooper Burnside, who's a partner at Higgs Johnson, which is TerraLex's exclusive member in the Bahamas. And I think I will let my audience in on the secret that we just did the whole podcast recording and I forgot to click the record button. So, Tara, I appreciate you doing this twice for us. And I think that knowing what you're about to say, it will sound terrific. So, Tara was recently honored as being among an elite group of trailblazers by TerraLex during International Women's Month, which is this month of March that we're recording in. And we're highlighting many of our trailblazers on the podcast so that others can see what a dynamic group of women we have within the TerraLex network. But by way of introduction, let me cite some of the reasons that Tara was nominated and selected as a trailblazer within TerraLex. For starting, Tara in her practice focuses on insolvency, restructuring, and financial services. And formerly, and very impressively, Tara was an acting justice of the Supreme Court of the Bahamas and was also a member of the Constitutional Reform Commission. We're going to talk about that in a little while. And also, she was appointed as King's Counsel in 2023. This is the highest distinction in legal in the Bahamas and is one of only 10, she's one of only 10 women that was ever appointed as King's Counsel. So even more impressive. Tara is an international fellow with INSOL, which those in the insolvency practice area know about, and recently co-hosted the inaugural gathering of the Bahamas chapter of the International Women's Insolvency and Restructuring Confederation, which, again, we're going to talk about that in a moment. But Tara is truly a trailblazer and truly helps to empower and lift women up in the insolvency field, and I think in the practice and in her firm in general. So again, welcome to the podcast, Tara, and I'm so sorry for my little mistake there.
Not at all.
Let's discuss your leadership role in insolvency and particularly how you empower women in that area. But tell us a little bit about INSOL, because I'm not sure everyone in our audience will know what that organization is and what role you've played in that.
Oh, INSOL International is an association really of insolvency and restructuring professionals globally. It's a huge organization. I got involved about 19 years ago, I think. I remember my first meeting. I went at a conference and there were probably 3,000 people there. And I saw very quickly that in order to get involved, you have to form connections and be involved. And I've done that.
Excellent. And what about the new group? I think, it's IWIRC, but I think there was an acronym that I'll probably not pronounce properly.
It's IWIRC.
IWIRC.
Yes. IWIRC is a confederation of international women in insolvency and restructuring. It was founded in 1993 by 3 dynamic women, and it really offers members the opportunity to learn, polish their networking skills, develop leadership skills, and to get involved in the sphere. I found as a young professional getting into this sphere, I would have liked to have something like this available to me. And so we're trying to give that to our prospective members. It's not quite chaptered yet. We had an inaugural event to canvass interest and we've gotten the interest. And so we're working on that, me and 2 other professionals in the sphere.
Excellent. So that will give, I assume, young practitioners in that field just a network, a community that they can turn to.
Yes, it's important too, because I found coming into the insolvency field, a little daunting as a young female professional. My first experience was one where I was very different. I was female, I was young, I'm Black, and my first client was everything opposite to that. And so law is relational and you have to find a way to relate. And so I learned how to do that. I mean, once you're able to relate, you know your self technically and professionally, and you can convey that, but it's also important to develop the relationships. And I think that IWIRC will help with mentoring young female professionals to develop that skill.
Excellent. So I don't think I've ever met anyone. I've never spoken before with someone who was a former Supreme Court justice. Tell us how that came about and what that work was like.
That was a wonderfully fulfilling opportunity. Our Constitution permits for justices to be appointed for specified periods, as opposed to for until the retirement age by the Constitution. And I had the opportunity to serve for the period of November 2020 till June 2021. It was a great opportunity. I would say that it was one that I didn't immediately embrace. I had to think about it. And I think one of the things that causes people to be perceived as trailblazers is taking opportunities, taking advantage of opportunities, even if they take you out of your comfort space and you need to, do something a little differently. And I did that. I think it was a wonderful opportunity. Just being able to serve the country in that way, to be that involved in the administration of justice. I feel like I have just a greater appreciation for those serving on the bench, because I know what it is like to do that. And I think that our judiciary really has their finger on the pulse of society, because they see from the bench what's really happening based on the kinds of matters that are coming before them. And so I enjoyed that.
Well, and I don't want to miss the opportunity to ask you about something that we were talking about in the version that I forgot to record, which is sort of the pomp and circumstance that is still experienced in the Bahamas, the ceremony, not just related to the Supreme Court, but to all lawyers. I was mentioning to Tara that I had seen a video recently of lawyers in robes and wigs, a lot of lawyers walking from the court. And tell us what that's all about.
Well, as you know, the Bahamas is a former colony of Britain, and every year we have the opening of the legal year, which is, like Terri has said, full of pomp and pageantry. It's an opportunity for all of the members of the bar to gather together. We have the display of the guard with the police force. The Chief Justice inspects the guard. That's a part of this ceremony. We parade down to the church, and we have a church service that marks the opening of the legal year. The Chief Justice has an opportunity to address the bar and speak about, his objectives, achievements of the last year, etc. And when you attend, it's your opportunity to put on all of your regalia, if you will. So it's a ceremonial event, and you wear ceremonial dress, which means for lawyers, the wigs and the gowns; for King's Counsel, the big wigs and the silk gowns. And it's a spectacle, something to see.
I might have to come down for that one of these days. It sounds so fascinating. So speaking of King's Counsel, that's quite an honor. And I'm interested to hear a little more about what that means. I'm sure our listeners would like to know that as well, and what that was like when you were appointed.
Yeah, well, it's a huge honor to be appointed King's Counsel. It's a designation that recognizes your expertise, your leadership in the community, the legal community, your ability to deal with, high stakes, complex issues. There are only, I think you mentioned this already, 10 female King's Counsel.
Amazing.
And I can't remember, I think the number in total might be 40, inclusive of the men. So it's a small fraternity, and it's one that I'm very proud to be a part of. And as King's Counsel, we're leaders of the profession, and so we also have a duty to call things out if we see things going awry, and to really offer mentorship to the younger members of the profession.
Excellent. I love to hear that. And again, congratulations. I know didn't just happen, but it's something to routinely congratulate you on. So let's switch gears just a little bit, and I always like to let our listeners hear the goals of our distinguished guests. So what are some of your professional goals, if you might share some of those?
Terry, I just try to do and focus on what is before me and do my best at that, deliver an excellent product. That might be writing an opinion, preparing submissions for court, but really working on what's before me and doing my best at that. I don't know if I have a goal per se of retiring on the bench or retiring in the profession. I just want to do my best and leave an impact on the profession and on young persons coming up.
Yeah, can't be better than that. That's fantastic. And then on a personal level, tell us a little bit about yourself so our listeners know more than just your resume.
I have a busy life with young kids. I have an 11-year-old avid baseball player and a dancer who is 8. And my weekends are just filled with their activities. And I enjoy that very much.
Yeah, and it goes by fleetingly, so enjoy it, while you can. I remember those days. They were a long time ago, but I still miss them sometimes.
Yeah, I know I'm going to miss mine.
Yeah.
I can see it happening. And, with the profession, it's just very, very demanding and consuming. And so I enjoy just the time that I get sometimes to be with them.
Well, you have such an impressive background, and we really appreciate you joining us on the podcast. But we really appreciate you joining us, sharing a little bit about your achievements and the way that you've helped to lift others in the profession, particularly women. And congratulations on being a TerraLex trailblazer. Thank you so much, Tara. It's been lovely speaking with you.
Thank you, too.